All right, this is a recording for Monogram project, and this is April 27th. This is just a presentation to show you guys a little bit about monograms and what we're going to be doing in the next project. So obviously, this is monograms, and this is actually an example of a monogram back there. I just took the M and the G from monograms and just kind of played with it together. Kind of really simply, only took a couple of seconds, but this is just a basic idea of what a monogram would look like in the background. So what is a monogram? A monogram is a motif or of two or more letters, typically a person's initials, usually interwoven or otherwise combined in a decorative design, used as a logo or to identify a person's possessions. So basically, it's just being creative with letters. And so you could think of things like graffiti and other things that are creative. With this, it's just simpler because it's technically most of the times used as a logo. And so you're basically using your initials or a combination of letters. And so this is what you got to use. You got to use a minimum of 2 to 3 letters, initials or an acronym. If you don't know what an acronym is, just select this link. Create one page of sketches combining the letters you have chosen. These sketches are to be executed through a process of playing, which allows you to try different things that you've never tried. This is a way of finding a new way to look for something which allows you to become creatively smarter. So the idea is you're not just putting down great ideas, you're trying to take an idea and change it little by little to kind of see what happens and kind of see where your thoughts take you. Just an example, monograms have been around for a very long time, for at least Western cultures. One of the first was on a coin from 350 BC, and it's just simple as an A and an X. And you could see the design. They kind of made the A as the bottom part of the X. And the interesting part is it looks like an arrow on one side. All the corners don't look the same. So I'm wondering if this is some kind of arrow pointing in a certain direction, but they also use a circle in the middle. So almost like they didn't just cut this, and I don't think this is because of how you carved or how you stamped metal at that time, but I really do think this circle is talking about how something's in the middle. And so it's kind of interesting. They also put these the leaves and the vines, usually, the olive branch possibly. But this is also one of the most famous companies in the history of the world, the Dutch East India Company. And you could see their acronym is VOC, and that actually, although we call them the Dutch East India Company, their translation is right here, the VO and C, which is how you basically write Dutch East India Company in their language. So the VOC, and then obviously there's some decoration around this. This must have been on a building. I don't know if this looks like stone. It's like carved stone by the way it's cut here. Probably part of a building or something like that. Oh, there it is, a castle in South Africa. So it's just pretty amazing that even at that time, it was really important to be able to communicate who you were or what company you were and make it as simple as possible. So everybody who saw this knew exactly who this was around the world. Now, for you guys, these are some of the famous monograms that you're probably used to, and these are all monograms based on fashion. Obviously, Calvin Klein, CK, which was more famous in the late 90s, early 2000s. Obviously, there's Gucci, who's been famous for a long time, continues. Louis Vuitton, who's always been famous, but I think lately, because of certain music, it's become famous again. Vera Wang, historically famous. I mean, yeah, Gucci, and then there's all these different brands, and some of them you may not even know. Some are really simple. Look at the Michael Kors logo, where the M and the K are just combined by one line, and that's it. And so sometimes the logo is simple, sometimes it's a little bit more complicated. There are also monograms in sports. So this is probably where most of you are going to remember monograms from because, I mean, who has not seen the Yankee logo or the Mets logo? But this is basically the historic version of monograms here in the United States that most people know of. Most people probably don't know the monogram for certain businesses, but they would know monogram from their city, especially if you're from one of these cities. And then the one that you wouldn't probably never, you probably have seen, but you probably never paid attention to the details is our fire department. So our Hartford City Fire Department has a monogram. Now, usually you don't notice it because it has other decorations, but if you ever meet someone from that fire department and they have a hat on, they'll always have this monogram. And so it's something that pretty much is all around us. We just don't think about it as much. This is a video that I want you guys to check out. This is going to help you basically understand how to do the sketches. And I'm going to mute this on mine, but when you watch it, you can actually listen to the sound. But I'm going to skip forward to the part where he actually starts sketching. He's taking these two initials and he first writes it down. And then he starts adding things to it to try to see how he can make those two letters join together to be more creative. And you might say, well, what if he just drew a line right here? That's it. But that's a start, right? So it doesn't matter what art level you're in. If you feel like this is going to be really difficult, start simply. And then start getting more and more creative as you go. Maybe that line looks a little bit smoother. Maybe the S is smaller. And you're just playing around. And you're basically playing around with the connection between the two letters, the size, how they touch, how you basically the connection and the size and placement. And so just start off really, really simple and then let your idea grow as you keep going. So this is what's expected. This is the goal for the first part of this. Remember, we're not doing the entire project. We're just doing one part. And this, as someone who's a professional designer, this is how I start. I started my sketchbook and I just start sketching ideas, pencil and paper, and I'm just putting down ideas. And they can't get, there's not wrong. There's no wrong or right in this. So here I just started with my three initials. I just connected them together. I started moving things around, made the S a little smaller. I changed the S into this angled because it looks more like the other letters. But you could see how step by step, I just changed it. Now from here to here, I just made them smaller. From here to here, I just changed the angle. I turned the letters because I felt like they just looked weird that way. And then here, I did the same thing. I just made the letters bigger now, but at an angle because I saw how the A kind of looks like a mountain in the middle. And then I just changed it and I said, all right, well, what if this A flipped into this corner and the Z was on the bottom? Then I went back. I went too far on this one and I wasn't really interested in this design. So I went back to what I was doing. I flipped the A upside down. And then, I'm just combining things as I go. That line from the A that goes across, that horizontal line, I made it huge. I just wanted to see what it looked like if I crossed out the word. Now here I have 1, 2, 3, almost 17 sketches, little thumbnails until I got to this sketch. And I was happy with it. I don't think it's beautiful. I don't think it's perfect. I just think it's interesting. And that's all I'm looking for. Now with 18, since the S here was kind of curved and I had to change it to fit the rest of the letters, I changed the rest of the letters to fit the S. So everything is curved, if you notice. Now, just like I did over here, I put the letters together. And so I tried a second way of doing things, but it was based on these curved lines. And then I kept experimenting. I turned the letters, which guess what? I did over here. So I'm not like completely reinventing the wheel. I'm just trying something that I already tried. And now I want to see this, how it does. And now I did little things. I turned the line here to make this longer. I cut this shorter. And then I rounded the S and I made it come down. I'm not 100% done, but for right now, I like where it is. These are two of my favorites, and I'm gonna circle two of my favorites. That gives me options. Once again, these are just sketches. You're not trying to design the best design ever. You're just trying to be creative and open-minded. Here are some inspirations, the future possibilities. These are obviously professional designers, so please don't put this kind of pressure on yourself. But look how simple some of these are. This is just the letter P and a D, and all they did was extend this line all the way around on top and under the D, under the P. This one is for a company that deals with sports, with mountain biking and things like that. And I'm not sure the letters yet, but I definitely see the R. I'm just not sure of what else. This was extremely simple. It's 4Gs, and they flip it upside down and sideways. I mean, there's a lot. This one you can't tell, but and maybe you can tell. It's an A and a P, and what they did is they got rid of part of the A, so that you're focused on this line. And so there's some interesting stuff going on here. This is a second video that I have for you guys, and when I wanted you to look at this guy, he's basically created, he has a channel on YouTube, but he's a professional designer, and the way I could tell is one by his process. He starts off, I'll just play it real quick. I'm gonna take away the volume, but I want you to see, he does talk a little bit, he talks for like a minute or two before he starts, but if you go down, he's looking on the internet to look for some examples, things to be inspired by. This is always a good step to start with, because if you have no experience, you're not really sure what you're going to be doing. So he's looking at letters, and then he decides he wants to do an old-fashioned monogram. And the second thing he does is that he goes to his sketchbook. And this is where I say this video is a little long and a lot longer than it needs to be. So he goes to his sketchbook and he just puts down the letters, just like I'm teaching you. And he starts combining the letters. Obviously, there's a lot of explanation going on, but I want you to see that he is a designer and he is going to work on the computer. Sorry about that. Skip the video. But as he's moving forward in his sketches, he's just playing around. And he's playing around with angles. He's playing around with the size of each letter. Could it be tall? Could it be short? It's a little bit like Zentangle, which you guys have already done. It really is just trying something out and then seeing how it works. The best thing about this is it's just lines. Don't worry about how thick your letters are. Don't worry about whether they get thinner, whatever happens, you're just basically combining letters. As he goes, and then we're not going to do this step, but his next step would obviously was to take these designs and put them on the computer, which we're not going to do, but we're going to have a different kind of step. All right. So thank you for watching this. I hope you have a safe day. Check out if I'm connecting to you through Schoology, then go through Schoology to find out the due date for this. If I'm connecting to you through Google Classroom, then you should check Google Classroom to check out the due date. The basic idea is that you're coming up with a sheet with a bunch of sketches, 8.5 by 11, if you can get that kind of paper, that size paper, and then you're going to fill up that paper with as many sketches as you can. It shouldn't take you more than half an hour to do this. Also, please be aware of the check-in. If you're watching this now, and then that means you possibly, our Zoom time has already passed. So here is the check-in. The check-in is going to be research and find a monogram that you like a lot. Now, we already know about Louis Vuitton. Let it not be one of the ones I already showed you today. Find another one. Find a monogram that you like and get that check-in done. If you want to know the due date for that, like I said before, go to Schoology or go to Google Classroom to find out the due date. All right, have a safe day and take care, guys.